Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, we're all going to learn how to boost your brand with a leading national expert. Her story just ahead.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've enjoyed the reputation of being the nation's icebox.
Watched a burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight, Jeff Crilley, Fox 4 News.
But in 2008, I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team, and the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Well, I've owned my firm for 15 years, and at my heart, I'm a storyteller. And so when you meet a fellow storyteller, it's just instant. And I knew it because I met my next guest at an EO event about a month ago, and we just instantly clicked. And I want you to meet her, Hannah Smith with Boost Your Brand. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff, for having me. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. Well, tell me more about your agency.
So we work with forward-thinking brands to better connect them to their target audiences through immersive experiences. And when it comes to how we work with brands, it really is the business of storytelling, like you said. So yes, we have a full-service agency. We have a fabulous team that we've been able to develop. But when it comes to, at the end of the day, working with the brands, we hear them, we see their story, and wherever they're at, whether they're a medium or large-sized business or even large national or international personal brand, yes, we meet them where they're at to build their story and continue to do that well.
Well, I'm so impressed with you. When I met you a month ago, I had no idea that you'd be hanging out with Patrick Mahomes. so we're going to roll this video, and I'm going to let you narrate this. So you work with Patrick Mahomes' mom,
Correct.
Randy. Okay,
Correct.
So ooh, look at that. The family. You were on the field. Okay, so tell us about Randy.
So Randy is actually just the most fabulous person. When it comes to her brand, she came to us last year, and we actually had hired her out to be an influencer for one of our big grand events. And she loved working with our team so much, so she reached out and she wanted to continue to take her brand in the direction that she was going in, but at a different scale. And she was ready to take it really seriously and tell her story. Yes. So she got with our company, and we were able to build out her branding from, you know, her QB producer,
right,
potentially the greatest of all time, Patrick Mahomes, to also being about family and faith and mental health. You know, her and her family and her story is just so inspiring. And that storytelling aspect is what she really wanted help with when it came to telling that story as her brand.
Well, you're very humble, because I remember meeting you and inviting you on the show and say, well, I'm going to Vegas. And I just assume you're going to Vegas to work the whole city. Didn't know that you would be hanging out with the Mahomes.
Yeah, I know, casual. I try not to be like, that's where I was going. But it was a surreal experience. I mean, at the end of the day, my business partner and I went, and it was surreal. We actually, my co-founder and I have been best friends since we were 10 years old. We have a great complementary strengths in how we build people's brands along with our big team. But when it came to Randy specifically, we had the NFL honors, which, you know, Patrick was nominated for Man of the Year. And then, of course, the actual Super Bowl. So going to the NFL honors, you know, working the red carpet with Randy and, you know, doing all these interviews with her for People magazine and all these large media companies was just a surreal experience, because you're walking around. It's work, obviously, branding, but you're seeing all these just incredible icons and incredible brands around you. And being in those rooms is just very humbling, because it's, you know, you're surrounded by so many really talented, incredible people. So we were able to do a lot of that and position her branding, which was, you know, the reason why we were there. So position her branding, making sure that these news articles and everything that we were doing was telling a story with her brand and everything. So we collaborated with Dallas stylists and makeup artists and top line and top tier people, and it was just a group effort that really went off well. And then, of course, her Super Bowl outfit, which we love. So we were able to style her for the Super Bowl, and just being a part of those moments and, being behind the scenes, with all of that was just a surreal experience for sure.
Love it. And you're so humble. So we're going to pull up one page off of our website because you have all these great case studies and the case study on Big Shots. So tell us what you did with Big Shots.
This is fabulous. So when it comes to Big Shots, just side note, guys, we're going through a rebrand a little bit. So we've got a lot more coming with our website. But the Big Shots case study was phenomenal in the sense of what we were able to collaborate with when it comes to their brand. So their brand, as you know, Big Shots was, owned by Invited, previously Club Corp. And what they reached out to us originally for was we had a big team in College Station, which we still do in Aggieland, right? Texas A&M, gig 'em. Okay, had to do it. But when it comes to them, we really worked with them. That was a big, they had a big investor. That was like one of the locations that they mainly owned and they were so bought into. And so when they launched the Aggieland location, they're like, we need a local marketing agency to be able to connect us in the community, to be able to build out the brand and build out strategy that can also be replicated for their other locations as they grow. So it was a wonderful, 2+ year partnership with them as they just sold to Topgolf. But it was a wonderful partnership where we were able to grow with them as they grew. And so that's what a lot of companies I think look for is we want someone who's going to be able to partner with us to grow with us and keep us pushing forward. So we did everything from guerrilla marketing strategies to street team. I don't know if you've seen like the interview style TikTok interviews.
Yes.
We built out a whole street team for them for that. And then of course we had the social media strategy and local events and partnerships and community building. And it was just fabulous. Everything from design to activations to everything to continue to grow their brand and obviously up their valuation was the goal. And working with a talented internal team, our team really worked well together with that. So we love working with big brands like that and telling their story.
Tell us about, and I love how, you got this big smile because clearly you love what you do. And
I do.
Your passion is storytelling. When you sit down with a brand for the first time, what is it a brainstorming session or how does it work?
That is a wonderful question. So it definitely depends on where they're at as a brand. So we work with two different styles of brands. One is more the startup brand who is just getting started, right? And they're needing their branding put in place. They need that competitive analysis research. They need the target market research. We are very research based. So we don't ever take a cookie cutter approach. I'm never going to say, okay, Jeff, you need this because my other customer needed this or this industry needed this. Because you never know until you do the research and look at the data where your target market might be lying that you may not have thought before. And so we like to give that perspective based on research and of course our creative talent. So if you're a newer startup company, then we'll do that whole auditing process for you. And that's where we like to start so that we can show you, hey, here's the research and then here's what we need to do because of this is what the research is showing. But if you're a more established brand, like for example, Big Shots, when we came along, they had their branding in place, they had their mission in place. But what they really needed was more of that strategy. So we started with a couple services and weekly strategy sessions. And then we said, okay, based on all of this, here's what we need to do. Here's what we need to put in place. And again, backed by the data, backed by the research. And having a talented team, which is, rare, we actually fulfill those services as well. So we'll be able to say, okay, you need this based on the research, but we also have the team to be able to provide those services, which is great because they get to see the whole process start to finish with us.
Well, I want to give you a chance to brag about your team because, I love my company and I know I can tell you love your company.
I do.
What kind of team members do you like to attract?
So when it comes to our team, we obviously want those out-of-the-box creative thinkers. When it comes to the members on our current team, we invite a culture of openness. So we always want the best, and we want to push you to be the best. And you're going to feel that being a part of our team. So whereas a lot of things can be taught, different skills can be taught, and obviously we want the best of the best. Sure. There's also a point where you want people in your culture, within your organization, to feel like, I'm going to say this big, crazy idea, and it's not going to be immediately shut down. Like I have the freedom in the creative space to say, hey, have they ever thought about doing this? Or what about this idea? And their audience is here. Have they ever tried this? Whereas some organizations kind of have that more hostile environment where you feel a little bit afraid to share those ideas. Right. We create that space where it's a safe space for them to do that. And so when we look for individuals to work for within our organization, we want them to be bold. We want them to be authentically who they are and have conviction in that. Sure. We also want them to be kind of fearless in that sense of, I know my strengths, I know where I can bring to the table, and then we create the space for them to do that.
Wow, you're amazing. Okay, we only have a couple minutes left, so talk to the CEO out there who's looking at this video saying, I think I just found my marketing team. So,
well, we're in, I'll tell you that. So I would say that when it comes to agencies, there is a perspective, and we're aware of this perspective. It can be stuffy. It can be people who have been in the industry for a long time who may not be looking at the newest trends or what they need to be implementing to keep up with technology, to keep up with society, to keep up with their growing audiences, right? So I would say that compared to other agencies working with us, you're going to get that strategy, you're going to get that implementation, you're going to get that constant communication and that storytelling aspect. And I would say when it comes to working with us, you're never going to not feel seen and feel heard and not see us execute, because we're big on execution, big on return on investment. So you're never going to see us from a business perspective never perform and never make you feel like you're heard and what your goal is trying to accomplish.
Well, you're such a strong leader and great communicator, Hannah. Thank you for coming on the show. We're going to end with the website, which is boostyourbrandmarketing.com. The great Hannah Smith. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you.
You bet. That's it for now. We'll see you next time.